Hello everyone.
Hello, hello.
I'm Toni.
And I'm Talia.
And we are
The Lazy Book Lovers.
This is a podcast for book lovers who procrastinate about reading and have never-ending to-be-read piles. Today's episode is a reading update.
Yes.
So this, again, is roughly a month. Roughly a month.
Yeah.
Because we record ahead, it all gets a bit wonky. But I think this is about a month.
Yeah, it'll just be, I'm going to pick out some that I want to talk about, basically.
Yeah, if you want to sort of talk to us about everything we're reading, you can join us on Ko-fi. We do offer like a Ko-fi subscription if you want to support us on the podcast. Or there's a Facebook group. There are many ways you can get in touch with us to sort of see everything we're reading. You can follow us on Storygraph too.
Yeah, so with the Ko-fi membership, you get a Discord link to come and chat with us. We also have a free Discord one for anyone that wants to join. Links will be in the description.
But yeah, it's bet. So if you want to hear about everything, that's the way. But for now, you're getting our kind of standouts.
Yeah, the ones we have stuff to say about.
Do you want to go first?
Okay, yeah. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Get a Life of Chloe Brown by Talia.
I'm so happy you've read this.
The first in the Brown Sisters trilogy.
So I recently read these. If you've listened to a few of our reading updates, you've probably heard
I think the most recent reading update you might have discussed.
No, the one before it.
Ah, yeah.
Because I read them around Christmas.
Yeah, it was all right. I gave it 4.5. Possibly 4.25 is a more legitimate thing.
What knocked it down for you?
I didn't really like the writing style.
Did you not?
No.
I quite liked it.
I expected this to be a pure 5 stars, so I was a little bit sad.
That's really surprising.
Yeah.
What about the writing style?
I don't know, it just didn't work for me. I can't really pinpoint it. There was a few bits that I didn't really like, or there were some bits in it that I just couldn't get my head round. So this follows Chloe Brown, who is a chronically ill young lady who has decided she lives with her family, and she's decided she wants to sort of branch out by herself, and she writes herself a little list of things she wants to do in her life, and she moves into this apartment to kind of get a bit of independence after a life or death situation. She kind of sees her life flash before her eyes. Yeah. And then she moves into this apartment, and then she kind of befriends it says handyman here, but he's not really a handyman. He's like the superintendent, yeah.
Which is an American. That's my only issue with it, was there's certain Americanisms they pulled into this when it was clearly set in Britain, yeah.
And then he ends up helping her do some of her list, and then they end up getting together. So there's a lot of emphasis on the fact that she has to be very careful in terms of like her health and stuff. And then like the first time something physical really happens between them, he fingers her outside, and I was like,
well, they're in a tent.
No, this is when they've gone drinking.
Oh yeah, on the fountain.
And I'm like, I just couldn't get I couldn't get in the moment, because the whole time I was thinking was, why hasn't she asked him to wash his hands? Like, especially for someone that has to be careful of catching anything or whatever. I don't know, it made me feel a bit gross that he'd not washed his hands and they were sitting outside and he was... Yeah. I do feel like there could have been a better lead up to the two of them getting intimate, because they kiss quite early on, which I don't have a problem with that, but I just feel like, because at the beginning they tried to imply that they dislike each other, and I think that it literally went in a couple of pages from they supposedly dislike each other to they're like making out on her bed.
Well, yeah, but because it was all a misunderstanding though, innit? And
I feel like there could have been more to it. So what I would have liked is there's a little element in it in that Chloe has this cat that she finds, which is kind of how they start chatting at the beginning. And she's not meant to have a cat. And he knows she's got the cat. He was there when she got the cat. And I feel like they maybe could have done more with that. Like, someone had complained that she had a cat, and then the manager had asked him to go and check, and he'd, like, had to keep going around to pretend to do spot checks or something. I feel like they could have done more with that, just to kind of build it up a bit more. But it was fun. It was enjoyable. I look forward to reading the rest of the series. I really appreciated the discussion around abuse for him, like the abuse he's had as from a girlfriend as a man. I really appreciated that discussion. I really appreciated how they were both like helped each other through things. They had a really strong friendship, and I think that was portrayed really well. She seemed a little bit like manic dream girl, but she seemed the most kind of down to earth out of her and her sisters, because you do get a little glimpse of her sisters who obviously have a book each after. So yeah, it was fun. There was a few things that kind of annoyed me, but apart from that, I really enjoyed it.
Interesting.
I read this as a book read, and I didn't realise until we were discussing it at the end that everyone else in the group are American, so they were all really confused by a lot of it. And they're like, to people, and they didn't know I was English, and they're like, I don't think that this is actually how English people talk. And I was like, oh no, it definitely is. It's actually a very good representation. And then someone was like, I find it hard to believe that she didn't know what a s'more was. And I was like, no, I mean, I find it hard to believe that her character doesn't know what a s'more was. I find it hard to believe that Red didn't know what a s'more was, because he doesn't really seem the type that like watches TV or whatever. I was like, but no, 100% I would know English people that don't know what a s'more is made up of. I was like, I
know that what they are. Well, I didn't know what they were made of until I went travelling with Americans and we had a bonfire and they made s'mores. Yeah,
and they were like, what do you have at a campfire? And I was like, we put a marshmallow on a stick. Like, if we're feeling fancy, we'll have like a kebab stick. Like, I don't know what you were.
Classic is getting just a wooden twig from the woods and like, this is fine.
This will be absolutely fine. It's not got fox shit on it at all.
Maybe a token char it in the fire.
Clean it up. So I really enjoyed how British it was.
Yeah.
And I think that Talia really captured.
I meant to check if she is British or not.
She is,
I don't think she could write that without being.
No. So when they were talking about like the night out and going to the club, and I was like, I can picture this club. I can picture it from uni. I know this club. I can smell it. I can feel the sticky floor. I know what she's talking about. Like, overall, it was a great book. There's a few little bits that were niggly with me. We'll see how the rest of the series goes.
Yeah, I reckon you'll like the second one the most.
That's with Danny, is it?
Yeah. With the rugby guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked the miscommunication trope in this one. Is very much like they literally just didn't communicate well.
Yeah.
I liked how that was handled. It was literally like two adults being like, reacting due to their past and then immediately going like, oh, you know, like I know better, I know why I've just reacted the way I have.
Yeah. Like the third act miscommunication was actually resolved within a couple of pages, because they just came and spoke to each other, which I really appreciated.
Yes, I mean, they actually had a conversation like adults.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, that was a trigger for me. I didn't realise that when I reacted the way I did.
And it wasn't really miscommunication, it was just how they reacted to things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was quite a positive example of a relationship. Yeah, looking forward to the rest. I when I read the next books, if something about the writing bothers me, I'll try and work out what it is. I'll try and pinpoint what it is.
It's quite bluntly written.
Maybe that's...
But I don't know if that's because we're used to reading... Like, it is British writing. And I don't know, we read a lot of American writers.
Yeah.
And we are blunter as people, naturally. As British people. Maybe that comes across in the writing.
Perhaps.
And all the characters are quite blunt by nature.
I'll keep an eye out for it when I read the second one.
Because when you get to
like
actual age Eve Brown, where she has the kind of revelation that she might be autistic, then she's like, I can see a lot of this in the rest of my family and the way they behave, especially her sisters. So with that kind of lens as well, really helped her, like, for Chloe, the way she is quite kind of, like, blunt and stuff, and her sense of humour.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to talk too long about this because we did a whole bit about this in the last reading update. But I read the second book in the Dustwalker Brides series, A Soul to Heal. These are long, by the way. They're like 500 pages.
Yeah, they're hefty boys, aren't they?
I did not enjoy this as much as I did the first one.
No. They're different characters, are they?
They're completely different characters.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the first book, she's just like, I'm pissed off. I've been a harbinger of death my whole life, and now I've been sold to a Dustwalker. Like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah.
Whereas this character, she is, like, sort of essentially a little bit emotionally abused in a marriage that she was it was an arranged marriage, and then he cheats on her, she catches him cheating, and she kills them both in a fit of rage.
Sounds like my kind of girl.
And then the people of the village decide to sacrifice her to the Vale, which is where all the monsters live.
Is it a different village?
Different village.
Okay.
Because she kills the chief's daughter, basically, who's the person that her husband was cheating with. So they throw her into the Vale, basically, and she lands on the Dustwalker, our new one. So this is our nameless one from book 1.
Yeah, okay.
She's really, really depressed. She was had accepted her fate and was ready to die, and then she wakes up not dead, and she's like,
oh,
no, I'm not for me.
No.
Thank you.
I had my mind set on this death thing.
And then because he doesn't know much about humans at this point, because, like, the more humans they eat, the more humanity they get, and he doesn't have a lot of humanity yet. He's just started to kind of get the concept of loneliness, which is why he was starting to get ready to look for a wife like Orpheus did.
Yeah.
And so he kind of gets the core concept of, like, it's not eating, and it sleeps a lot, and it has these big rings under her eyes. Something's wrong. So he like force feeds her and gives her water, and she's just like so too depressed to even be scared of him. So she doesn't set off that fear scent for him, because she's just like, I actually don't care if you eat me.
Yeah,
like, fine.
Actually, that'd be quite nice.
That'd be quite nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's very much her attitude. And then he does stuff like, he's like, well, plants need sunlight. So he's like, oh, plants need water. I'm gonna take her outside and put her in a patch of sunlight.
I mean...
And she's like, this is making me feel better.
I hate this.
Thank you. And she's like, take me back inside. And at the start, he just has a cave with a nest in it. He started building a house ready for when he started to look for his bride. And he's like, you've come too soon.
I wasn't ready.
I was going to eat a bunch more people before you came along too, so I could understand you better.
That's so funny.
So he's kind of halfway a person. So he doesn't understand a lot of stuff. And she's just like, I'm not doing human 101. I can't be bothered.
I don't even want a human anymore.
Yeah, and then, like, he really likes that, because she's plus size, and he really likes that she's soft and squishy. And, like, the ReyneShatter, the one from book 1, isn't. And he's like, I like this more. And then because he's talking about another human woman, she's like, ew.
Excuse me?
And a lot of the abuse from her dead husband, not ex-husband, was around her size as well. So... yeah, I just... this character wasn't for me. I thought, in being that she was plus size and the depression stuff, I was like, this might be quite nice. But I don't think it's written well. Like, the hollowness kind of aspect of it is just whingy.
Okay, yeah.
And, like, obviously... whingy when you're in that kind of state, fine, but it is just like whiny and whingy for like hundreds of pages.
Too much.
And it just, and then I liked how they showed her getting out of it, and she gives her soul to the Dustwalker really early, because she's like, here, have it, I don't care. And he doesn't have enough humanity to understand that's not good enough in terms of consent, because they have to consent to give away their soul.
Oh, right.
And he's like, I didn't explain to you what this means. You didn't care about your soul, like... And the point when she starts to want to live again, and then he eventually eats more people, and he understands the concept of what he's done, and he's like, I'm so sorry I've tied you to me forever, and I didn't explain to you. And she was like, okay, but we like low-key had sex when you also didn't really understand what that was. And then she gets pregnant, and I'm not a fan of pregnancy trope in romances anyway.
That's good to know, because I did not know there was a pregnancy.
Yeah, but obviously it's a half Duskwalker baby. So it's a weird pregnancy.
Yeah.
Don't know, this one didn't hit it for me.
Enjoy it as much as the first.
No, and then at the end she has a little essay she did, or not essay, but a little like afterword from the author. And she said she found this one really difficult to write, and I feel like you could feel it. That she nearly stopped to scrap this and rewrote it. And fans that were her beta readers at that point had encouraged her to keep writing. And I feel like it comes across in the writing.
Do you kind of wish she'd started afresh? Almost.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the lengths of the rest in this series. Yeah. I was like, they're all about 500. Now, the most recent one, or I don't know if it's out now, it comes out this year, is 740 pages.
Yeah.
And number 4 is 650 pages.
So I do want to read the rest of them, but I'm going to have a little break.
Yeah, I mean, they're hefty books.
They're hefty books. I expected to want to power straight through them, but I actually found this second one a bit harder to finish. But I think it's the character that she didn't enjoy writing, and I think that comes across.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt.
Read something else for a bit and then come
back. Yeah. Well, do you know what?
Because each one's a different character, isn't it? So...
Yeah. Do you know what I discovered?
What?
I've never read bloody book 8 in Zodiac Academy.
Have you not?
No, I read all the novellas.
How did you discover that?
Because I finished Live and Let Lionel, which is like different snapshot stories. It's one of those ones where it's like little pithy tales around the series. And there was one that was like spoilers for the end of Sorrow and Starlight, which is book 8. And it was just a scene from a different point of view. And I was like,
I don't recognise this scene.
Never read this scene.
Oh.
And then that's what led me to go and look up the descriptions of books and realise, obviously I read up to book 7
and then
when I read
waiting for number 8 to come out.
And I don't know how I didn't realise that I never read book 8. But I read all the bloody novellas that have come out since then.
So that's next on your list, is it? Or
yeah, because the final book 9, comes out at the end of April. So it's going to need to be. Okay, what's your next one?
Okay, so this one is a little bit of a Debbie Downer, but
we had such a happy reading upload date last time. We're due a depressing one.
This is one I listened to on Libro FM. If you go to my beacon, I have a link if you want to give it a try. So this is only an audiobook, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
It's not a physical or ebook. So this is by Lucinda Berry, and it's called One of Our Own. And it's a dark thriller, and that is a very good description of it.
Okay.
So I'll read a little bit of it because this would just be easier to... Yeah. Felicia, a single mother and lawyer by day, volunteers at a local crisis centre to give back to her tight-knit community in a small Wisconsin town. One night, a phone call turns her life upside down. Through tears, a frantic teenage girl tells her that she was the victim of sexual assault at a local house party. Felicia is shocked, and breaking protocol, she begins communicating with the girl on her own, determined to keep her safe and hold her assailants accountable. But she can't shake the potential connections being drawn to her son, Hunter, who she knows also attended the party. Ooh. Felicia and her only son, Hunter, a straight-A student and star athlete, are incredibly close. He couldn't possibly be involved in such a violent crime. This was really hard to listen to. It's only 4 hours long, and when I finished, I just sat for a while. As a mum, this was really hard. I have a daughter and a son, for those who don't know, so imagining
both sides of it, really.
Yeah, imagining if anything had happened to my daughter, imagining if my son had been involved in anything, or if I thought my son was involved in something. It was really, really horrible. When I finished, I just kind of needed to have a hug from my partner and have a little cry because it was really hard. It was
I don't know why you do this to yourself.
Because I don't read what the books are about.
Yeah.
I read it was a dark thriller and I was like, yeah, sure, let's give that a try. It's 4 hours long. Yeah, and I just kind of had a hug with my partner and had a cry and I was like, this is really hard. And I explained to him about it and he was like, yeah, that sounds like a horrible book for you to read. I definitely gave both of my kids a big hug that night. It was very well written. It's very well performed by the two narrators in it. They have the Felicia, the mum involved, and then they have someone who plays the young girl as well.
Okay.
It was very good. It was very hard. I would definitely look up triggers. I mean, it's like, sexual assault, bullying, suicidal thoughts, that kind of stuff.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, and I think it hit me harder because I've got kids, definitely, because obviously I do worry about these kind of things. And then it made me think there's a book I've been meaning to read by Frederick Backman. I think it's called Bear Town, and that's about a small town in Sweden, I'm assuming, because he's Swedish. And like the town has it's quite American in terms of they have I think it's like a hockey team that's like the most important thing about the town, and then one of the hockey stars gets accused of rape by a teenage a girl at the school, and then the town's very divided about it. So this made me think of like that, of like I've not read that, but I do want to read it. Yeah, I don't know. It was a great book, but look up trigger warnings, please.
Do you know they rejected me for their influencer program?
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh.
Even though they've accepted me as an affiliate marketer for their like more proper program. For the one where you get to listen to audiobooks, the ALC, I got rejected.
Oh, you got rejected for that one? That's interesting. I wonder what their...
I don't know, they've got requirements now on how many followers you need to have on like your socials and stuff.
Possibly, because
so it's possible that they've got them stricter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got rejected. Jokes on them. Do you know what, for my blog, I have had... I can't remember the follower numbers now. Basically, doing very well. Looks like I'm going to beat next year. I've done half of last year's visitor count in the first 3 months of the year.
Oh, lovely. Good
so I'm
job.
already up to like 6,000 plus.
Oh,
and I got 12,000 overall last year.
Very good.
And that's just in 3 months. So, jokes on them, I'm about to go famous. And that's the technical term.
I'm about to go famous.
Okay, so my next one, I'm going to be real quick because I did actually have a rant about this in like 2 episodes ago. So Shatter Me.
Oh, yeah.
It was totally not related to the topic we were talking about. I just had to get it out. But now it's been out, so go listen to 2 episodes ago. I mean, if you haven't already, why not? So yeah, I'm re-listening to Shatter Me. I originally read these, I want to say about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. I read the whole series, and I just thought it'd be fun to do a re-listen because they're all on Everround, and you get like as many books as you want on Everround, pretty much. We've both only found the limit once or twice, and it's one we've listened to a lot. So yeah, there's certain things about this now. I don't know, because we read more critically because of the podcast, or because I'm older. I don't know,
or just because you've read more
books
that actually hit that,
because this is dystopian and it's like it's sci-fi, it's fantasy, whatever. I just have a lot of issues with the first love interest she has in the series. I have so many bloody issues with him that I never had before. He's like toxic as hell. And like he just is like, I'm so in love with you, I'm obsessed with you, he can't be near her without touching her, and he's like, I can't resist you. And it's just like, she's just this traumatised girl. They have maybe 3 conversations that we see on page.
And he's like, I'm obsessed.
Yeah, and he's really possessive of her, and he's got like no right to be. When, like, let's be honest, so this girl has a power in her skin that means she cannot be touched, right? So you don't get to be jealous about other men when they physically cannot touch her without dying. And when she starts to, like, come out of her shell a little bit more, which is, like, in the second book that I'm on Unravel Me now, and I'm, like, 3/4 of the way through, when she starts to come out of her shell a bit more and start to kind of, like, understand her powers better, and she starts to make friends, he's just, like, this dark cloud that appears because he's the only person that she can touch. And then we find out that that's not quite true. He has a power of his own that kind of, like, delays her power, but he's slowly killing him every time they do touch.
Oh, interesting.
So she can touch him, but not for very long. And when they both lose control, when they're kind of, like, making out, both their powers, they lose control of their powers, and she can very easily kill him. So she's like, okay, since we cannot touch, it would be quite easy for me to accidentally kill you. Maybe we don't date because it's too hard.
Yeah, it's just, a bit too close to the sun.
Yeah. And he's just like, why are you doing this to me? And he's just like, he starts to get, like, he loses weight and he looks really miserable, and she's like, are you okay? And he's like, are you really asking me that? You're the one that ripped my heart out. And it's like, dude, you've known each other a grand total of 3 weeks. She literally says, like, just 4 weeks into them being, when they go to the rebel base, so they've known each other a total of 7 weeks. And he's like, I will never recover. And I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. She's like at breakfast with all her new pals that she's, like, really trying to put herself out there, and it's really hard for her because she was never allowed to talk to anyone her whole life. So she doesn't know how to be a person. She's learning how to be a person. And they're, like, laughing along with her, and then he sits down in this, like, little thundercloud, and she's just like, oh, Adam. I also have an issue with, in book 2, Kenji, who's a new character who comes along, gives her this whole speech about how she's so wrapped up in her own problems and boo-hoo, you've had a terrible life. We've all had terrible lives. It's like,
but she has had a terrible
But mate, she was, like, tortured and put in institutions and, like, and he's like, get over it. And she's only been with them a week in the rebel base, and I'm like, I've got so many issues with this that I didn't have the first time around. And, like, she's having very rational reactions a lot of the time, or, like, sometimes she doesn't know what to say, she doesn't know what's the right thing to say, because, again, she's never been around people. And she's afraid all the time because she's been in institutions all her life, so she's always trying to guess what's the right answer. And then there's this whole bit where the leader of the rebel base is like, answer me now! And she's, like, frozen in place and can't speak. And he's like, you're so selfish, answer me! And it's like,
mate, calm down.
You literally, your whole entire business is collecting traumatised children and giving them a safe place to stay. And
why are you traumatising them?
Why are you screaming it? So, anyway, I've been enjoying my re-listen. I do think these actually work better as audios than the books, because the scribbly out thoughts.
Yeah.
Once, like, you get over the stupid noise they do, where she, like, writes something, crosses something out. But yeah. So I'm enjoying them the second time around. I'm also finding a lot of issues with them. They are very, like, 2010s.
Yeah. You just gotta go in expecting.
But I feel like, if you're gonna read them, they're still gonna be enjoyable. So that's it. Short and sweet.
I read A Tempest of Tea by Hafsah Fazil. This is the first in the Blood and Tea duology. I am obsessed.
Yeah, I've been made to read this.
It's Six of Crows with vampires, and I freaking love it. It is amazing.
Yeah.
It is so good.
Yeah, it's on my list, I think.
So much of it. We follow a young girl called Arthi, and we've Arthi Casimir and her brother, who is called, his name isn't here, what is his name? Jin. So they run a tea shop in it's like a prestigious tea room in a, like, ramshackle part of town, kind of like vibes. And then at night they turn it into a blood house. It's like an illegal blood house, catering to vampires. and the city's, the person in charge of the city, I can't remember if it's a king in this or a mayor, I can't remember now. The person in charge of the city is trying to shut them down, and they make a deal with someone who potentially they maybe shouldn't make a deal with. Anyway, and then they have to they get together a team of people to go on this heist.
Oh my god, it's a heist.
And it is wonderful. Yeah. So ragtag crew is the exact description here.
Yeah, I saw in your storygraph that you were reading that, and I was like, oh, I really want to read that.
Honestly.
How many pages is it?
Hang on, because I did the audio, so let me just double check.
Oh, how long's the audio then?
12 hours.
Okay, it's not too bad.
11 hours. It's 340 pages, so not that long at all.
I've got too many audios on the go, so it might have to be a read. The 8th Zodiac Academy is 1,000 pages, by the way. So it's not going to be... I'm going to have to dip in and out of that because, well, unless it's really good.
Yeah, and they all gave me different Six of Crows vibes. Okay. The main character, Arfi, she has something in her past and it's lingering there but no one wants to talk about it, and she's made a name for herself as this badass, and 10 out of 10 recommend. Okay.
Yeah. This one's quite high on my list. I'll have to bump it up.
Yeah, I would suggest.
So my next one, talking of high on the list, I read She's a Keeper by Ali K. Mulford. The new series.
Oh, yeah.
The new series.
Oh, yes. How was it?
So, this is A.K. Mulford. She's got a pen name for her romance books, because she's branching out into romance now. Ali K. Mulford.
Contemporary romance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's on KU. Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah.
Just as good as you expect it to be. It's so good. It's a love story in a zoo.
Yeah, I was going to say it's in a zoo, isn't it? Yeah.
So it's a zoo owned by this family. I think the other books follow each child in the family. The family has pansexual kids, and they've got one non-binary kid, and they're all kind of autistic and ADHD coded as well. No less than you would expect from.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly what I would expect.
They take volunteers every summer, and it's a summer volunteer who joins, and usually it's just stupid teenagers and college age kids who've come to do this for the summer, and they think it's going to be a big piss about, and then they're expected to actually do work.
Do it, yeah.
Which is exactly my experience of doing volunteerism. Is they make you do hard work.
Yeah, they're like, mate, we're going to make you do this.
I cleared rocks off of roads for 2 days.
That's crazy.
I hand dug a tiger bath. And one of the volunteers is basically on a quarter life crisis, breaks up with his girlfriend, decides the best thing to do is to go to the other side of the world and volunteer in a zoo for a summer.
As you do.
So obviously he's older than her usual volunteers, and he's quite sensible, and she immediately resents him for it, and he's good looking, and she's like, I hate you. She's bi, but has never been with a man, and she's like, I always sort of liked men in theory, but not in actuality. And so there's lots of stuff about when she's like, what do you do? What do you do with a willy? What do you do?
Yeah, what is it?
What do you do with a dick? Am I even doing this right?
Ma'am, good question.
When she's like, I've never been this attracted to a man before. She's like, maybe I'm not even... It makes her question her whole sexuality. She's like, maybe I'm not even bi.
Oh, bless her.
But it's just this whole crisis of he's so attractive.
No, I hate it.
And she's very regimented. She's got her little schedule of the animals she likes to do every day, and the way she does it is very specific. And he just does it exactly as she asks, perfectly. And she's like, oh, I fucking hate you. And in the end, she's like, I'm just going to get drunk and bang one out. This is how we're going to do it. This is how I'm going to handle this crush. I need it to go.
It just needs to be done. So.
But obviously he's a nice man. He's like, I'm not going to fuck you when you're wasted.
What's wrong with you?
He's like, we're not just going to bang one out. What? I actually like you.
That is so funny.
He's Kiwi, she's American. It's very heavily based on her own love story with her partner, because they did meet at a zoo.
Yeah.
There's lots of really funny moments, and there's loads of funny moments that come from the fact that she cares for monkeys. It's a really good love story. He ends up going with her on a research trip, and then they're in the jungle for days, and she gets like horrendous diarrhea in the jungle, and he's like making fun of her for it, and she's like, shut up.
The next one comes out this year as well, doesn't
Soon,
it?
this month.
I really love the cover art that
all of the artwork she's got for it is great. I like 1,000 times recommend this. It was so fun as a romance. Their romance develops really naturally, but we still get this big climactic moment at the end that's like semi-unrealistic.
It's only 300-ish pages.
Yeah,
That's
no,
like
just basically no less than we would expect from Ali K. Mulford.
Perfect, basically.
It was so good. Like, I was like grinning whilst reading it in my new job's like lunchroom. People were like, "What are you reading?"
Because you're like,
yeah, it was really good. So good.
All right, so this is my last one. I read a book called The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. So this is for the same book group that I wrote the Get a Life Program for.
Yeah.
This is our March read. So I literally did not look up anything about it. I just read it. And it's like got a little time travel element. So basically this woman, I'll just read this bit.
Yeah.
An overworked book publicist with a perfectly planned future hits a snag when she falls in love with her temporary roommate, only to discover he lives 7 years in the past. So she inherits her aunt's apartment.
Yeah.
And her aunt has always had this rule that you do not fall in love with anyone you meet in the apartment. And she's always been like, well, that's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, that's weird.
And it turns out that sometimes when you walk through the apartment, you're 7 years in the past. So
it's like a Narnia situation.
Yeah. And you can't control it. So she goes in one day and there's a guy there and he's like, your aunt said I could stay here. And she remembers 7 years ago her and her aunt were travelling for the summer and her aunt had rented out the apartment to someone. So, and then she ends up, obviously, they fall in love with each other. She disappears, like in his viewpoint, she just disappears.
Yeah.
Which is when she can't get back in, when she goes in and she's in normal time. And then they also discover that they actually meet up in her current timeline, and he obviously remembers that whole summer they spent together, and she's just getting it dribs and drabs. So he's like really off with her, and
she doesn't know what she did.
So good.
That's
it was
really
good. It was really, really good. And like there's one point where they meet up and he's like, the evening before they went and got food together, and then when she goes home, she goes in the apartment and it's back in the past. Yeah. And then that's the first time they sleep together. And then so the next morning when she sees him and he's like, like she's got love bite?
Yeah. Hickey, if you're American.
On her neck, and he's like, I see you met up with someone else after our dinner, and she's like, you?
Technically.
And he's like, I remember that night. Yeah.
You know what?
It was really fun.
Charlotte, sometimes there's a kid's book, but it's the same kind of plot, but it's a time travelling bed.
A time travelling bed? What?
Yeah, so when she sleeps in it, sometimes she gets transported back to like 1940s war era of this boarding school.
Oh my god.
Where she's like got a baby sister, like the person she swaps bodies with essentially.
Yeah.
And then the person from the 1940s gets transported forwards.
That's crazy. This one by Penelope.
It's a really good read. It's a kid's book technically, but it's a really good book. I reread it a bunch of times when I was younger.
That's so cute.
And then like she ends up getting stuck in the past in 1940s and is there ages, and when she finally gets to go home, one of the grandchildren of the girls that she swapped bodies with comes to find her and says, Granny's told me to come talk to you now because you should be done. And like all this kind of stuff. She's like, I've been keeping an eye on you all year for when my granny was coming through. It's really cool.
It reminds me of that TV show that had the guy in it from Only Fools and Horses. What was it called? Oh, Goodnight Sweetheart.
Oh, I never watched that.
Oh, when he used to go back in time to, like, World War London.
Okay.
Yeah, that was quite funny. That was a time travel. But yeah, it was a really good book, and actually their relationship was really... I was listening to it whilst I was working, and I was grinning away whilst I was working, like, cleaning the toilet, smiling away. Yeah, it was good. I recommend, definitely.
Yeah, I need to... There's a few that we've looked at by that author recently that I think...
Yeah, the Dead Romantics.
I've gone and saved a bunch,
next time, yeah.
Okay, so my last one for this is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to like this as much as I did. Really funny.
Yeah.
Really funny.
Because the premise is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, and it's amazing that it works. I don't know if you'll have more sort of... You tend to be a bit more critical than me, but it just kind of works. Like, they're actual real life, like, modern enemies to lovers, in that a huge misunderstanding years ago when they met has made her hate him, and because she's always so horrible to him, he in turn hates her, and they bicker, and that's been their entire relationship, is just constant like bickering and stuff. That's their whole relationship. And then their sister's wedding, his brother, her sister, who are getting married. These are the girls are twins. Yeah. The brothers are 2 years apart. The entire wedding party comes down with like a bug from the food. Yeah. Which she didn't eat because she's got a shellfish allergy, and he's just afraid of buffets.
Fair enough. Well, and with good reason, apparently.
Yeah, he's like, well, I've just been proven right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like they're all really sick, and she won the holiday for free. So she's like, it's a free holiday, take it. Like, you're just stupid if you don't. Yeah. And that's the same logic his brother uses. And then they're like, well, I'm not going to turn down a free holiday just because I hate you. Like, we're just going to, only sleep in the room and then never see each other on this holiday. I want a free holiday, fuck you. Yeah. And he's like, well, I want a free holiday too, fuck you. And then they go on this holiday together. But, and again, these are like a series of coincidences that are obviously unbelievable, but they are funny. So like, her new boss happens to be there. So she got made redundant, has just found a new job. Like, she literally just got the phone call before they flew, and then suddenly her new boss is at the resort and overhears a masseuse, like massage therapist, call her Mrs. Thompson because she has to pretend to be her sister.
Oh, so her boss thinks she's just got married.
So in that moment, she panics in front of the masseuse and has to lie to him as if she got married. This becomes important later. So then they have to like have this dinner where they pretend to be a married couple with her boss and his wife. And then they are leaving the resort that day, so they're like, cool, we don't have to hang out. But this whole time, she's like side-eyeing him because he's like nice and charming, and she's like, I hate him, he's so charming, like, fuck you. And then the next day, after they leave, his ex-girlfriend of 2 years appears on the resort with her new fiancé.
Of course.
And then he panics and is like, yeah, well, I just got married.
Okay, this sounds like a really fun book.
Then she's like, why would you say that?
We were home free.
And now we have to pretend to be married the whole trip. And then everywhere they go, they keep seeing his ex-girlfriend. So, of course, they keep having to, like, cuddle and touch and stuff to make her jealous.
That's so funny.
And then, sort of, they just end up, like, weirdly getting along, but still, like, bickering a lot. And then they have this, like, day out where they have, like, a great day together. And she's like, I might low-key not hate you. She literally says to him, like, oh, it's getting really hard to hate you. Like, fuck you.
I hate you for this.
And it kind of, from there, they kind of become friends, which then develops into, like, romance. There's lots of stuff, like, they've got to do the couples massage. But the couples massage is actually, they learn how to massage each other. And then they have to front it out in front of the masseuse, because, again, they think they're married.
Yeah. That's so funny. Worth it for a holiday, though. So worth
10 days in Maui, fully paid for, fully inclusive.
I would do it as well, yeah.
He's really hot, so she's like, when they end up getting together, she's like, I can still see this as a win.
Yeah, win is a win. A win is a win.
And her whole thing is like, her sister's the lucky twin and she's the unlucky twin.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, no, you're just a massive pessimist. And through the course of a series of like bickers with Ethan, and then like the big miscommunication, she's like, does start to reevaluate of like, how much is bad luck and how much of this is
it me? Yeah.
Being a pessimist.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, and then there's a sort of the subplot to this is we start to discover that her sister's husband, has lied about a lot of stuff.
What?
And Ethan accidentally let stuff slip that he's been told by his brother, Amy knew, and the sister that's on holiday is just like, Ethan reveals a lot of stuff that Dane has lied about.
And Ethan didn't know they were lies.
Yeah, because he would not have been okay with them either. They're all things that he morally would not be okay with. And he's just like, no, my brother wouldn't do this stuff. And that ends up being the big fight between them, is that they both stand in each other's siblings' corners. Like their own sibling. And then she's just not believed. And she's like, you should have believed me. And he says, well, you're a massive pessimist. Like, you always see the worst in people. This isn't true. And then her sister is also like, you're a massive pessimist. This isn't true. And she's like, am I crazy? Like, am I actually seeing this all wrong?
Am I a massive pessimist? I am.
And then it all comes out that she's right in the end. Yeah, it's so funny though. Like, there was a bit where I was listening to it on my way into work, and I pulled in, and my manager was like walking into the building, and she saw me, and I was like literally laughing aloud, grinning like a lunatic, and she literally looked at me and did a double take. So I had to say something when I went in. I was like, I'm not crazy. I was listening to something funny.
It's not on Everends, no?
It is.
Is it? It's not coming up for me.
The Unhoneymooners?
Yeah, it's saying it's unavailable. Yeah, I'll have to keep an eye out.
Maybe they took it off. I don't know. It's still...
Maybe it's just unavailable for me.
But yeah, very, very thoroughly recommend it. Really enjoyable.
I will check it out. It's in my library. That's fine. I'll get it there. There's a second one?
Different books by the same author. But I'm definitely reading more by her. I've got a bunch saved. They're all on Everend.
No, there's a second one. The Unhoneymooners Crashers.
Must be about...
Different people in the story or something different.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I will give that a try because that sounds fun.
It was so fun.
Yeah, I want to listen to some more.
And she's so sassy and just like funny.
Yeah.
And he's got like a dry sense of humour. I liked it. It was good.
Right. Well, I think that sums up what we're going to talk about today. Please come follow us in any of the places we mentioned before to be more up to date on what else we're reading or to chat with us, etc. Please follow, consider reviewing us wherever you listen to your podcast. That would really help us reach other people and help us in the algorithm. If you have any recommendations of things you would like us to chat about, feel free to message us on Instagram, TikTok, go to our website, which is lazybooklovers.wordpress.com.
lazybookloverspodcast.wordpress.com.
Or, just come join our Facebook group. We would love to have you there.
And it's still time to join our March and April read-along.
Yeah.
So, obviously, this will come out in April, I believe.
Yeah. So you've still got
time.
A few weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
And then we will do an episode chatting about it. Please do that. All of the information will be either in the description or in our card.
That's it.
Speak to you later. Bye.